So in today's video, we're going to discuss how to break through a fat loss plateau. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Tom Sergi, and I run the Gorilla Platoon, which is an online physique transformation program. So let's first understand the initial setup. So the first thing you would have needed to do was establish your scale weight and body fat percentage and then go into a deficit. Depending on how fat you are, if you're 25%, your deficit's going to need to be fairly great, probably around 600-700 calories. If you're around 20%, 25%, anywhere in between that bracket, you're looking at a 500 calorie deficit. And if you sat around 17%, probably more like these guys here, this guy, you can go in, honestly, just below maintenance and run that out for a while. Now, let's say you've done that, and then you've got two tools in your arsenal. You can either decrease food, and you can keep taking the food lower and lower, or you can increase the actual output that you're doing. So you've either got increased steps or formal cardio that's done, on a treadmill at a respectable heart rate, 120 to 130. So let's say you've been rinsing that out, but you've got to the point where you started on like 2,500 calories, and then you've just taken from food. You're now 12 weeks in, and at this point you've taken from food, you've added cardio, food, to the point where you're running 60 minutes of cardio per day, and then also your calories, you've taken them so low that, like, let's say your RMR was 1,800 and you're sat at like 1,910. So you're already pretty maxed out at this point. But you still find you're probably about 4% away from the real goal. Let's say you're just breaking below that 15 mark, but not quite there where you need to be. So the question then comes, well, what can you do? And how can we get that last remains of body fat off? And sometimes, and this is not the best answer you wanted to hear, and even when I've had to do it sometimes with clients, it's not ideal, but what you can do is you can run a diet break for anywhere from 1 to like 4 weeks. What you're going to do is you're going to bring the food back up slowly, 100 calories, 100 calories, 100 calories, 100 calories. You sat back at a healthier range of now like 210 as opposed to, no, apologies, 210 as opposed to 190. Now what you want to do is sit at that and train at that and get the body used to having more food. And what that will essentially do is it's like turning the reset switch on your phone, computer, laptop, any electrical equipment, and it will allow your body to essentially reset and get used to using food in order to essentially, and I don't like to use this term, but kickstart your metabolism. Because now you're going to train just as hard. You could shave a bit of the cardio off, go down to like 45 minutes. Still want to keep our output high. If you just bang food up and take cardio off, you'll end up reversing out quite drastically. But what you want to do is sit at that point for around maybe 4 to 6 weeks and just train like a fucking animal. Use the extra food to progress those numbers in the gym. Get the body lean and responsive again to dieting. Now, this shouldn't happen within the first 12 to 16 weeks. It's more when you touch 20 weeks of dieting, that is your cutoff point. But the reason why this may have come earlier is because you've just spunked your load too quickly. You started either too low on food and then you kept taking it too low too fast, or you just ran out of tools, or you started cardio right from the beginning, and then to push more cardio would just be unsustainable. Like, you don't want to be doing more than 60, maybe 70 minutes of cardio a day, and you don't want to be much lower than 100 to 200 calories above your RMR. You're just going to have a miserable time of it, and it's just not... Dieting shouldn't be sustainable, but that's unworkable for any longer than about 2 weeks. Don't get me wrong, in the last little week or two, if you've got a date that you need to be ready for, you need to pull that last bit off, then fine. Fucking suffer, and I'll take my hat off to you for doing that. But if you've maxed that out really early, and there's still 6 weeks of graft that needs to get done, I'd honestly sit at a diet break, and it's not always what you want to hear, because you want to hear, I'm just going to execute this really, really quick. But that's the consequences of playing your cards too early, and that's why I'm a big advocate of, and I'll always speak about, keep your food as high as you can for as long as you can. Because look at this in the beginning. You were set out at 25% body fat, okay? You didn't need to drop your calories really, really low to have seen change. Because let's say you're at 25% body fat and you were already having fucking 3,000 calories. even just by dropping to 2.7, you'll see a drop off in scale weight, and then you just rinse that for as long as you can. Look at it like the formula you use, the plan you use, is there to be rinsed until it just doesn't work anymore. And once it doesn't work, then you pull the lever, and then you can try and increase through cardio before you decrease from food. So in the event you come into a plateau with your fat loss, reflect and see, well, did I play my cards too early? Hopefully, if you're watching this before you've done a plateau, you can take this advice and you won't make the same mistake. But that's the biggest reason why people will not see results over the long term. It's just they played their cards too early. It wasn't sustainable. They tried to just sprint, and fat loss is like baking a cake. You can't really rush it much quicker than 1% of the scale weight drop per week. Otherwise, you run the risk of losing tissue anyway, which then decreases how the physique's going to look at the end, because the goal was never just to pull everything off. It was to keep the tissue, take off the body fat. So 1 kilo a week, 1% of the scale weight per week, that's the sweet spot to get it dropped at. And if you run into these problems, then I'd just pick a hard reset. It'd be a difficult thing for you to do because you'll just want to keep progressing, but look at things over the bigger picture, and that's what's going to help you to get to the result. So if you find yourself in this situation, or you find yourself really struggling to even get yourself set up or moving forward, there'll be links in the description. Message me on Instagram, book a call, and we'll roll from there. And yeah, just a little short one today. If you found value in it, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.